So we're back. I put a second coat on, and I'll put a little tiny clip of that in here. It dried pretty flat black. So it dried back pretty black, pretty dull, but it had also some lighter spots through. So what I've decided to do is just add a layer of blue and brown on my sponge, and I'm just blotting that. My sponge is kind of wet, so it's watering down. It's not super wet, like dripping. It's moist. It's watering down the paint a little bit, and I'm just modeling that blue and brown around, twisting my sponge and putting it over that black, like a glaze almost. You can see the difference between the flat black and the wet part here that I've done with just the blue and brown. Starts out like that, but then I just keep mucking it around and moving it around by blotting it. And those are probably, I already did this side and it's drying back, but you can see there's shadows and dips and darks rather than just the flat black. Now it really has that mottled look. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. I think I can see it, the blues and the browns, but it reads black. You know, from far away, it reads black, and that's what's important. I wanted it to read black, but have a lot of depth, and so far, so good. The other thing that I did while we were away is, with the extra paint that I had left over, I put it around the edge, because my material's probably not going to go right to the edge, and I didn't want the cereal box showing, or the masking tape, so I did that. And you'll notice there's some color here. That's what we're going to do next on the front. I wanted to use these nice bright neon colors, but they have a tendency to disappear, especially when you manipulate them a lot. They fade into nothing, and especially on black, it's going to fade into nothing. So I've taken a little bit of the neon orange and put a bright orange next to it. Neon green, regular green, sort of a carrier for that neon. And then this real pretty dark cobalt violet and a little bit of this dragonfly glaze is the purple and white. And I wanted to try it out. I kind of know what I want. I want just streaks of the Halloween colors, orange, green, and purple on the cover. Another thing that I have done since we last met is there were still some pretty big flaps like that. You see how big that flap is? It's like a gaping hole. I've just gone in with my art glitter glue and put some of that into that gap and pressed it down. I had quite a few of those, so I did that. And that brings us up to date. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some Halloween colors on here. I sort of have an idea in my head, but I don't quite know. I can't quite see it clearly. So I'm just going to go. I'm just going to do this, and hopefully it'll work out. And if not, well, there's always plan B. I think I could make myself crazy with these flaps. I should just let them be. But that's just not in my nature, unfortunately. And just let stuff be. So I'm taking this brush. I picked this one particularly because it's all splayed out like that. It's kind of haywire. A fan brush might work well too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm so used to watercolor and using round watercolor brushes that no matter what I'm doing, I do better with a round brush. Habits, you know. So I'm just going to dip. This is a dry brush. Usually I don't use a dry brush, but for this technique, I do want a dry brush. I have a dry wet wipe to clean off excess, and I'm just going to dip, sort of pounce my paintbrush into the paint, both the bright and the neon, and just start putting it places. Very light hand. I just want to touch those creases, those wrinkles. I just want to barely skim those. And if you lay that neon down, it should just be fine. But the more you work with it and try to work it in and brush it around, they just tend to disappear. And I'm moving my brush every which way to get lines in different directions. I'm going to clean the orange off and come in with the other color now, a different color. We'll go with the green. Going back to the comments from last night's video from the kickoff of the virtual trick-or-treat event, Sue Victor had some really good ideas. She saw in my digital kit, she saw journaling cards and stickers. That's awesome. I think those would make great stickers. What a cool idea. And Sandy said that her family, we have a lot in common. I told you her family also exchanges gifts for Halloween. That's great. Oh, you gotta love it. It's raining. It is raining here today. It wasn't supposed to. It was just going to be a nice gray day, but some kind of storm moved in, so it's going to rain the rest of the day into the night, and then start snowing later after midnight. Just in time for Halloween. It always snows or rains here on Halloween. Very rarely do we have a nice trick-or-treat night. It's usually pretty crappy. But that doesn't stop us. We go anyway. Okay, now for the purple. Magic by the Ocean tells me that Halloween's not too big in Australia, which is so sad. I said maybe it'll start to catch on one of these years and Australians will embrace, although it's springtime, it's hard to embrace pumpkins and spooky nights and howling wind when everything's coming up tulips and springtime and new beginnings. And so I get it. I understand. It makes sense why it wouldn't be super popular. I get it. And this video hop that I'm doing here is going to take a little longer than expected. I thought if I didn't edit so much and I made short videos, the upload time would be less. It's not at all. Wow, that stinks. It almost looks like cracks, like there's light, green light coming through the cracks, like Tommyknockers, or orange light coming through the cracks like pumpkins. Now the orange is drying back pretty light, so I'm just gonna hit it again with more because I want it to be nice and the orange to be nice and bright and vibrant, like the other colors seem to be doing okay. I kind of feel like I wish I had some gilding wax to just sort of rub over it and antique it a little bit. That might happen down the road a piece. I don't have any, so not anytime soon, but I think that would be cool. Get a different view of it. Work your project upside down a little bit. At least look at it from different angles. I want the colors to interact a little bit, not mix, because that would be more mud and more dark background, but I want them to be near each other. And I'm just kind of skipping the brush across those lumps and bumps. Oh, I'm gonna need more green. Magic by the Ocean also said that she was going to make my digital free printable, my trick-or-treat thing, for her niece for Christmas. And Magic by the Ocean, I have to say, and for some reason I think your name might be Carrie too. Is that accurate? I could be way off on that, but how cool is that? There's lots of us. Anyway, I'm going to put a link probably in your... My cousin is the one that puts up the 6-foot Christmas tree and decorates it for Halloween. I made her a Halloween junk journal bundle for Christmas too a couple years ago. I'll put the link either on your comment or in the description below of this. I'm just going to go in with some of this dragonfly glaze and just put it here and there too, just for some sparkle, just for some Halloween magic. Christina from Christina's Shack said she enjoyed hearing my beastly snore. My little itsy bitsy. She's the smallest of all 5 Bostons. She's just tiny, and her and Ridley had the biggest snores. But they're both very brachycephalic, so they've got those squishy face. They were more squishy faced than the others, so they snored more. It makes sense. But it's funny that itsy bitsy teeny weeny little bit has the biggest snore. My little princess, I told her. That's my little girly girl. Snores like a truck driver. You might be able to hear her. She's in the other room. The other day, she was right under the table, so I'm sure we all heard her. But today, she's out in the other room, but you might still be able to hear her. Speaking of that, I didn't realize the other day how loud the TV was. I didn't realize you could hear the TV so much on that video. Whoops. Sorry. Surprised I didn't get dinged for copyright problems. But I didn't. Yay. Yeah, you can fuss and fuss and fuss. I'm just trying to use up that little bit of paint that I put out. It goes, luckily, a long way. That this little guy, these are about 50 cents, right? This one was $5. So I try to make it stretch, and I never waste it. I always try to make it last and last. All right. That's pretty magical, Halloween-y. It's not exactly what I had in mind, but who knows what I had in mind exactly? I don't know. So it's perfect. While this is drying, we're gonna do something else. Put this aside to dry over here. Okay, we're just gonna work on the messy craft desk because that's how it works around here, right? You just keep going. I linked my Halloween kit in the description below. If you're wanting to get in but you haven't done anything Halloween, this is the kit for you. This is mine, so it has a few different pictures from kits that I purchased. I can't sell those, so I made my own kit. It's very similar, but it's not exact. The one on Etsy is similar but not exact. It does have her, which I'm thrilled about, and some bloody spatter. And this, in the middle of all the gothic and gore, there's this cute, it has the Legend of Sleepy Hollow stamp. I love that. And a fun, beautiful little hat and some trippy bats. This is a kit that I purchased, but it's gorgeous. If I can find the link, I will link it below because it's beautiful. Bloody fence with a beautiful raven. And all of these are printed so that you can just fold them in half and then put them in a cover. Either sew them in a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I don't think I'm going to sew mine in. I'm going to do the no-sew bind method. Super, super simple, which I'm all about. At this late in the game, we got to step things up a notch. Can't be taking time to sew stuff in. I also mentioned in the kickoff video about showing you my lavender ice coffee. I have a coffee collection, and this is one of the darker ones. I have what I call regular and decaf, which is a little bit lighter shades of purple or blue or orange or green or whatever the flavor happens to be. But I just love it. It's perfect for this Halloween journal. So last year when I printed my kit, I just printed my kit and then moved on to Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I didn't have any backgrounds. And so what I did this year is I just printed, this is the teal coffee collection. And again, it's perfect for this messy, grungy, Halloween-y project. Let me see what else. I did print all the backs. So all the backs. This is the iced coffee. You can tell the difference between the teal and the blue. And truth be told, I made the teal and the purple and a burgundy, which isn't up on Etsy yet, for a peacock project that I'm working on that I will bring to you one of these days. This is iced coffee. This is Irish coffee, green. This is an addition. We'll come back to that. Irish coffee, Irish coffee, Irish coffee. And this is the decaf. See how one is really kind of dark, and then there's one that's lighter, regular and decaf. And they come in this, each kit has a regular and a decaf version, lighter and a darker version. Some of them I printed double-sided. So I've got my image, and then I've got another image. This is the one with the owl. So cool. So they're not all coffee dyed on the back, but all the ones that were blank, I coffee dyed. Or I put another one of my digitals. I think this is one that I put up free on Patreon. Or this might be, this actually might be porch print, my porch prints, now that I look at it. Not that my work compares to porch prints, but I did a very similar postcard one for my Patreon patrons. So that's my kit, but there's not very many pages here. You know, it's not going to fill up the book the cover that we're making. So I pulled out some pages from, this is from that dark ephemera book that I flipped through Friday. They're the only 2 pages that were horizontally oriented and that I can just fold in half and make a page. So that's what I'm going to do. But these seem very bright to me. Oh, hang on. I have some more pages here. Hold on. So I had printed extra backgrounds the other day when I was playing around with my Halloween digital, the Trick or Treat freebie, and I printed the backgrounds. I did it all wrong, is what I'm trying to say. And so I had all these backgrounds, so I needed something to go on the front. So I made myself just some extra pages for my DigiKit. This isn't in the one on Etsy. This is just for my personal use, but I thought I'd show you because it's super fun. Some ghosts in the woods. Love that. Do you remember the original Amityville Horror? I don't know if it's the mom or the dad. Somebody goes up to the little girl's bedroom and he goes to close the window. I think it's the dad. And these red eyes just appear in the window and make this horrible screeching cat noise. I put those cat eyes in there to remind me of Amityville Horror, one of my favorite movies, the original, of course. Love that movie. I also put some spider webs on here just to dirty up those windows a little bit because they were a little too clean for me. I made some of the freebie a little bit bigger. Look at that face. Oh, he's just creepy, creepy, creepy. And he's got his hand up right there. His finger and his thumb. Very creepy. Love it. Pumpkins and bats in the cemetery and a wonderful haunted house. And then I made some big ones of my skeletons in the closet. I had made that little guy, but I just printed it full size and got her, and I love her. And I have that background on those. And this was a misprint. I made it for a different project, but it was supposed to be little. And I'm so used to just hitting print, hitting borderless, blah, blah, blah. It's supposed to be just little. And, well, this is from The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. I love that movie. So I'm not going to just get rid of it. So I had him, and I just threw one of the skeletons in the closet backgrounds on that and printed it full size. So I have a lot of goodies here, but what I want to show you, see if you can see the difference or notice something different between this stack and these. Obviously they're different pictures, but these are all grunged up. They all have spatter or hash marks or something. Grunge. They're all grunged up. And these are all pristine and clean. Bonus number 2. Freebie bonus number 2 is last year I put up I think there's 12, 14, maybe even 16 different, what I call filters, but essentially they're overlays. So I printed my digital kit. In fact, I'll do it right now so you can see the difference. I printed my digital whatever onto my paper. When they're all done printing, I've got how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 fresh new prints here. I'm going to put these back into my printer and throw some of my spatter on via digital. It's just an overlay. And you'll see the difference, I hope. Okay, we're back. You see now, they've essentially been spattered. They're just a little grungier. They're not pristine and fresh and brand new anymore. Some are more than others. Okay, I'm so glad it didn't do much to this, although if you look real close, there's some red spatter here. But it did grunge this up quite a bit. Right here and right here. There's just, you don't even know. You wouldn't know that it wasn't part of it originally if you didn't see the before pictures. And it's not much. And if this isn't enough, like this might still be too bright for you, run it through a different one. Run it through the same one, but flip it around so that the spatters and everything are in different places. There's a lot of ways to use this. And so that again is bonus number 2. It's actually last year's trick-or-treat freebie that I forgot to take down. My bad. So it's still there for the taking, and I just checked it so that I could print these out. Some are just red spatter, which even on this bright orange you can kind of see, and it just takes it down a notch from pristine to grungy. I did just check. There are 16 different layers, filters, etc. Some are spatters and hash marks. Like this one, you can see the hash marks here. And some are these creepy, weird writing. This is one filter or overlay with purple and green spatter, purple writing. I just printed out, oh, I did, right here. This one's just backwards writing, which is kind of creepy all in itself. Now, this is pretty bright white, as are these. I could run them through my digital coffee dyed, and tone that down so that it would look more like this. And I may do that. I'm going to see how it looks when everything's together, and we'll see. But I may run them through the coffee dyed filter to get, not filter, overlay, I guess is the best word. And for that, I would just use the plain, probably the decaf, so it's a little bit lighter, but it would just take this from pristine white to vintage, like that. But I may not have to do that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So that is bonus number 2. If you go to my Patreon page, and you're going to go there and get your free virtual trick-or-treat event freebie anyway, while you're there, at the very top, there's a search button, and it just says search. And if you just put Halloween in, it'll take you to last year's Halloween thing, and you'll see 16 JPEGs, 16 pictures. Download them all. They're all different. And I just showed you some of them. Like I said, there's 16, so there's all different kinds. And that is bonus number 2. Free for the taking. This one you're going to have to work for. I didn't put the link in the description yet. So if you just go to Patreon and search the posts, put in Halloween, you'll get this year's freebie. And underneath that, you'll find last year's trick-or-treat freebie that I forgot to take down. And my problem is now your extra bonus, but they sure come in handy anytime you want to grunge something up. You know, it doesn't have to be Halloween. Let's just say you have something that you want spattered, but it's printed. I don't have a laser printer, so if I put water on here, it bleeds and it gets all jacked up. So I can't spatter coffee on it. So I needed some way to grunge things up without ruining my prints. So that's why those are created, and they come in very handy, not just for Halloween. So our cover is dry. Look at all that sparkle. That stuff just lights up. My first thought is it's too bright. I want it, I should have left the orange alone and it would have been fine, but it's too orangey for me. So I have a couple options. I can go back with the purple. The other thing I'm thinking of is taking sewing pattern and just Mod Podging that right over the whole thing to tone it down. We'll see. I don't know. So instead of making that decision right now, I'm just going to put this aside and give it some time. I'm just going to think about it for a little bit. And we're going to come to these other pictures. Now, finally, I've got all my papers printed. And their backgrounds, they all have something on the back, so there's nothing plain, which is what I want. This is what happens when my stuff gets wet, because I don't have a laser printer. It's pretty cool, yay for Halloween, but you don't want that to happen. It must have been touching my wet brush or something over here. So these are out of that... You'd think it would be right here because I just did the flip through, but it's not. It's from a dark ephemera collage book that I did a flip through on a couple days ago, but it's too bright. It's too bright, too bright. So I am going to go ahead with this idea here and just Mod Podge over this stuff and see how we do. It's either going to be really cool or I'm going to ruin it. Either way. I hope I don't ruin it, but, you know, that's life in the craft room. Sometimes shite goes sideways. So I'm going to take my homemade Mod Podge, which is another freebie on my Patreon page. You can go there, and while you're there getting your Halloween treat freebies, pick up the homemade Mod Podge recipe. I really, really like this because, A, it's a little bit cheaper than using straight up Mod Podge all the time, and B, because I use a little bit of Mod Podge in my mixture, it still is a sealant, but it doesn't have the sheen that store-bought Mod Podge has. Even if you use the matte version of Mod Podge, it has a sheen to it. It's shiny. I'll throw a picture in here because I just think it makes such a big difference. This is my Boston book that I loved everything about the book except I used regular Mod Podge on it because I didn't know any better. And it was really shiny, and I didn't want it shiny. And so during one of my videos, I thought, I wonder if I put my homemade stuff on. And the difference was like night and day. And that's what this picture is showing, the before picture on the left and after. The before is with regular Mod Podge. The after is with a coat of my own Mod Podge over the top. So I love it. And I put the recipe free on my Patreon. I love this grungy look around. So what I'm going to do, I think, is just take down a couple of these shiny things and we'll see how that goes. Maybe I won't have to do the whole thing. I'm just gonna tear a piece off and see how this goes. We're experimenting. My brush is already wet because I was using it earlier, so it'll be easier to clean. What this does too, not only takes down and I suppose if I want to take down just the shine, I could just put the Mod Podge on, but I want to play around a little bit. This also gives it a little extra texture, which is going to be awesome. I'm not going to cover up that skull, but I am going to put the Mod Podge all over the page just to maybe take down some of that shine. I've heard Amy at Doki Doki Forest say this a lot, that when she crafts, she gets real quiet, so she has to do voiceovers on her videos. And I totally get that. So another reason why I don't craft on camera is because I just go into my head and I don't talk. I don't remember to talk, which is kind of makes for a dull video. And personally, I don't like watching videos that don't talk, but they put the writing at the bottom. So it's like watching a movie that only has subtitles. Ugh, just it's frustrating to me. And if you do that, I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult anyone. It's just frustrating for me as a viewer. That's why I don't watch those. And what frustrates me as a viewer, I don't want to do to people who watch my videos. So I don't do that. If you can hear the TV today, today is Sunday. It is black and white movie day here at the House of Boston's. We work about 7 days a week, and all the days seem to run into each other, and so I make sure to, on Saturday we run 70s horror movies, and Sundays we run black and white movies, and that's how I know what day it is around here. If you're a fan of the movie I Am Legend, one of the movies I had in my Sunday viewing playlist is called The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. I didn't realize that is also based on the book I Am Legend, just like the movie is based on the book I Am Legend. I think that looks pretty cool already. I hope that when this dries, this dissipates a little bit more, disappears a little bit more. If not, that's fine. I really like how it's turning out. It just adds another layer of grunge to it. So we're gonna let that dry over yonder and do the other one. Same thing. I like the symbols and the markings, but I don't necessarily want the words. And I don't want it to look like a sewing pattern on my old book, so I'm going to mix things up a little bit. And because this is an open book on a deep midnight blue background, I'm going to just put the texture on the paper, the tissue paper on the page of the book. There. So what's next is I'm going to just fold my papers. So you don't need to watch me fold papers. I'm going to quick edit this part of the video and have that start uploading for you. And then I will bring you back and show you what I did with the pages. See you soon.